This week, a number of key issues have put a strong focus on the ruling party. The controversial Ayawaso East primary and the attendant party decision, the cocoa sector financial woes, among others, preceding these two. On hot issues this week, we examine the developments from the perspective of the party. I am Kemeni Amano, and in this edition, I sit down with the Chief Executive of the NDC. My next guest is General Secretary Fifi Fiavi Kwete.
Watching DSTV means getting the TV you love, but staying connected means getting something extra. Stunning. Extra magic.
Finding it's generally affecting almost every sector of our society, where people believe that everything you want to do, you need to pay. So it's a societal issue, and we need to look at it from that broad perspective. But having put ourselves in a situation where we've announced a reset agenda, as a party, we need to show that we are committed to changing the narrative. And I can tell you it's not an easy narrative to change. In 2005, I ran to become a national executive of the NDC. That was when we were in opposition the last time. And I can tell you I didn't have to pay one cedi to anybody to be able to win an election. I didn't have to. It's not because at that time, nowadays, you didn't have to. It was the fact is that at the time, on the Congress Day, you get people telling, oh, won't you give us anything, we'll vote for you. I couldn't care. Went ahead and did that. But I can tell you that between then and now, it's become absolutely worse across. So we felt something needed to be done about it. Sometime in before 2016, the party took a decision which decision actually brought a solution to this.
Okay.
And that decision was simply to have a delegate system that was much more universal. So I can tell you that I ran then as a member of parliament when I was doing my primaries for elections 2016. My primaries, I didn't give one dime to anybody. Why? Because the delegates were so massive that you didn't have to. You couldn't even give money to anybody, even if you wanted to, because there were simply too many. And that decision, I think, was a solution. But sadly, what happens is this: when you lose an election, people look for all kinds of reasons why you lost. And people with vested interests who wanted this delegate system to come back, money to convince leaders of the party at the time that no, the taking away of the delegate system was the reason why we lost. I still believe that was an absolute fabrication and a lie. And somehow the party caved into that, maybe because we're in opposition. And I would think that decision of the party to cave in and allow this delegate system to come back is the reason why it has now gained even far more momentum. So the Ayawaso East thing gave us what I call a golden opportunity to want to start the process towards resolving this once and for all. We were handicapped because the primaries happened on a Saturday. We needed to present a candidate on Wednesday. FEC was going to be meeting on Tuesday. And so even though we tried to make an intervention by getting a committee quickly in place to go into the issue, and we found out clearly that there were very inappropriate conduct on the part of virtually everybody. It was impossible to be able to do anything because, one, constitutionally we couldn't nullify the election.
Right.
Two, the time was too short to be able to bring another candidate. So we had to allow.
So let's look at those. Let's look at those two issues.
Yeah.
The fact that constitutionally you couldn't do anything about it.
You couldn't nullify it.
You couldn't.
Even though the committee recommended nullification.
Nullification. That's right.
That was the best decision, and we agreed that that should have been. But clearly, it was difficult to.
The party couldn't nullify the election, but the Electoral Commission could.
Yeah, but the Electoral Commission didn't have a case because nothing like that happened in front of them. In the conduct of the election proper, that happened within a certain principle. There's no gift sharing, no bribe taking. So there's no such thing that happened in front of the Electoral Commission.
But if your committee had presented your evidence to the Electoral Commission, then perhaps they would have case for that.
This is our party primaries. It doesn't belong to the Electoral Commission. What decision we are taking how to do, how to sanitize our party. That's not the business of the Electoral Commission. If they had evidence, they have to pursue their own evidence. So it was difficult for us. But then again, if we told the Electoral Commission to nullify our election, how are they going to ensure that we get another candidate? How are the Electoral going to do? Because they were not going to change their timetable because of that. So we end up in a situation where we have no candidate. And clearly, this is our seat. We are not going to just allow MPP to come and take our seat by default. No way. We're going to do that. Especially a party is of that. At least they even don't have even the, shall I call it, they just did their presidential, shall I call it, primaries. And there was massive vote buying. But they've not even had the conscience to even initiate a move like we have done to acknowledge that this is a problem, to want to take steps towards the resolution of it. And allow a party like that to actually benefit from our decision. That was totally
there was massive vote buying in their presidential primary?
Big time.
Because we didn't report on that.
Maybe you and the delegate themselves spoke largely, got angry about some of the people who didn't give them the money that they were expecting and so on. Really, are you a stranger? I mean, you can't tell me you're the only stranger in Accra. I mean, everybody does know exactly what happens. Well,
I've got to ask what the basis for that is. And back to the issue of Ayawaso East, right? Another interpretation of that will be that the NDC could not uphold the rule of law, and what you did was to pick your seat over the law.
Over which law?
Over the law that if the committee had found that indeed there was voter inducement, then somebody or some people had broken the law. But you decided that irrespective of it, because we do not have time, let's present a candidate. So you pick the seat over upholding the law.
It's not as simple as that. Okay. Because don't forget, I already explained to you that we're talking about something that really is a very pervasive practice. There's no member that is in parliament today who will tell you that they do not have to engage in this same practice in their primaries. There's no one. I'm a politician and I know. And they also know. And it's not only that. even the political parties themselves, in the conduct of sometimes our elections, we are compelled to resort to some of this. Why? Because that is what the society has accepted now. So people literally tell you that if you don't do this, you are not going to vote. So somehow I'm telling you that it's a society-wide issue, and therefore must be approached from that bigger perspective.
Right.
2, if we want to resolve this issue, the best way to do it is to look for comprehensive solutions.
Right.
So simply scapegoating one or two individuals doesn't resolve the issue.
But someone would say that you missed the opportunity to do that, to
Not
be
at all.
different.
Not at all, not at all.
Okay.
In the first place, don't forget, Baba Jamal as an individual won, absolutely had some penalty. The fact that his appointment had been terminated by the president, that's
Right.
one. The party recommended also that other people who took part in that primaries, who have government positions, whether on board or CEO positions, should also be recalled. So the party has not actually allowed them to get away. Then the party now has been made a recommendation that we should have a 7-member committee that goes into a comprehensive proposal as to how we can resolve the issue. So clearly, opportunity is not lost at all. And what is worth doing is worth doing well. Because as I told you, it's a problem that has been here for decades. It's not just happening yesterday or 2 days ago. So if you want to tackle it, you must tackle it properly. You don't tackle it by using tokenism or simply trying to make people feel happy. When you do that, you behave like MPP that came across shouting all kinds of slogans, and at the end of the day, they left the country in total devastation because they were much more interested in the PR rather than solving the problem properly. We are interested in comprehensive reform that would absolutely deal a death blow to this problem once and for all. It's not just the PR we want to do it properly, because what is worth doing must be done well.
Do you think that you have achieved that comprehensive resolution?
Yeah, that's what I just told you. That first and foremost, this is giving us a golden opportunity to go into that once and for all. I can tell you that if without this happening, if we set those rules in place, our own people will tell you, why are you trying to disturb the system? This system is okay. It's been on for years. Allow it to go. Now, none of them can give us that excuse. My delegates can no more come and tell me, no, allow it to go. This is our cocoa season. This is the only opportunity we get to also get something. Now they can't tell me that because the whole country has seen exactly what's happening. We have made a decision that we need to come to terms with this reality and stop it once and for all. So even those of them who may not be happy about the fact that it's about to go, they need to appreciate, therefore, that the moment is here. It's a golden opportunity that's coming. Therefore, we must, take the opportunity now.
As we speak, do you know if the executive has taken your recommendations to remove those who are on board?
Actually, I think it shouldn't be a problem because the president has been duly informed. So I think that process shouldn't be a difficult process at all.
I see. Away from voter inducement, another issue that characterized the exercise is that there was the perception that there was, or Hadi Amina McNaza was the establishment candidate. Did the NDC have her as a candidate of choice?
That's the first time I'm hearing that, because I can tell you that if she were the establishment candidate, then when she made a request to us that we should allow her to have a virtual vetting, would have granted that. We told her plainly that it's not happening, that she has to appear like everybody. We are not going to grant an exemption. So as a party, you can clearly see that no favorites. So I'm surprised to hear. I've heard a bit of that establishment candidate. I don't know where that thing is coming from.
Well, because
individuals could have their preferences. Yeah, and that's okay. I mean, you can have different people. Somebody might want Jamal, another person may not want Jamal. Somebody may want her, somebody may want her. So different people will have. But I don't. As far as NDC leadership is concerned, I didn't think of anyone having any clear advantage at all.
I mean, the perception is that Baba Jamal, politically speaking, has been problematic for the NDC from his days in Akwetia, back in Ayawaso East, and then today. And so you preferred a less problematic candidate for Ayawaso East. Given the backdrop also that the majority leadership decided to go and donate to Hadi Amina. And so it gave the impression that she was the clear favorite.
I'm not sure about the majority leadership as a whole. I think individuals. And those individuals, I'm sure, portrayed that they were representing a majority as a whole. I mean, That's as I told you. People have their preferences. So sometimes they can try and skew their preferences to appear as if it belongs to, they represented the whole. Because, for example, speaking to some of the key leaders, like, for example, the majority leader, the chief whip, they clearly didn't even know anything about this particular donation. So obviously that donation must have been orchestrated by a few individuals who clearly created an impression that they were representing the whole majority. I don't think that was the case. But, I mean, she lost her husband. So you have people who naturally will have that kind of sympathy. But as I told you, at party level, there was no such. We took our decision purely based on what ought to be. She requested for a virtual vetting. We told her, no, it's not happening. Appear. Because if you give you virtual vetting, are you going to have a virtual campaign when MPP and you are running? So we said, no way, it's not happening. So that tells you that as far as you're concerned, no favoritism, no.
In what ways did Ayawaso East test the NDC?
As I told you, it gave us an opportunity to deal with a problem that many of us have been trying to find a solution to a long time ago. I can tell you that I never understood why we moved away from that broader, shall I call it, that broader, much more universal delegacy. I never understood it. I totally disagreed, with the party, succumbing to the pressure. If I'm happy, my predecessor, Asiedun Ketia, Gina Mosquito, also was pretty much interested in making sure that expanded system continue. He was in a minority, so other people, overruled, and so therefore we had to cave in. So this is a beautiful opportunity that has been granted not just to the NDC, but to be able to send a clear message to the rest of Ghana. The NDC is really in the process of changing things that can help us to do it better.
If the party was scoring itself on the organization of that contest, what would you score?
What you mean, the contest in what way?
The organization of the primary.
The contest itself was very well done. If you check, it's one of the best primaries we've ever had. Very peaceful. There was no incident. But if you're talking in terms of the inappropriate conduct, why would I score it differently? Because it's the same thing that has been happening for ages. And I'm never one that is a hypocrite at all. I have seen it done across different levels. So I don't see why I should come and say that what's happening now also is particularly different from what has happened in so many other places. So I would say that the conduct itself has been well done. The party organized it very well. Individuals did exactly what different individuals at different levels of the party and other parties have done, which we must condemn and try to move away from.
1 year of the NDC in office, let's look at some issues that have come up. At the party level, very recently, you made announcement of some changes to be seen. One of those which many found controversial was what you felt or what you explained, that people should not have executive or administrative roles and then still have roles in the party. What is the thinking behind that?
All right. First and foremost, let's make it clear. These are decisions that have been taken by the National Executive Committee of the party. So it's a collective decision. Often, when you're as General Secretary, you speak to this issue, people tend to think that it is your individual position, which is not the case at all. I'm speaking on behalf of the party as a whole. So that's the first one. Two, I would say this is not even a new thing at all. This actually is something that the party, over the years, we evolve out from. We started this party initially with people holding both positions in government and at the same time holding party positions. I can give you examples. For example, late Iti Mensah was Minister for Youth. At the same time, he was youth organizer of the NDC. Just holding those two positions at the same time. A time came when the party felt, especially when we lost power in the year 2000, the thinking was that no, we are in opposition now. You can't, people should not be allowed anymore to be encumbering more than one position. So a time came when the party said, for example, that if you were a member of parliament, you should not be allowed to be holding party position at the same time. Okay. In fact, on the back of that, I tell you that in a previous contest that had to do with my own good friend and brother Haruna Idrisu, who was then MP, at the same time was trying to continue to hold his position as a youth organizer. Some of us took that principal position to vote against him because we felt that was not right. Allow somebody else who is not holding an MP position to run to become a youth organizer. So I'm telling you that evolution has been on for quite a bit. So what is happening now is simply institutionalizing the thinking that has been there for a long time. Now what we are saying is simple, that if you are holding a position, especially a position as a minister, a deputy minister, a position as a CEO, a deputy CEO, a position as a district chief executive or metropolitan municipal chief executive, you are in a position that gives you vast opportunity. First of all, they are positions that are very, shall I call it, very engaging, but they are time consuming. You need to focus completely. So you obviously are not going to be having time to be able to manage party work as well. It's going to be difficult. I can tell you, for example, when I became, I was in charge of communication of the party when we won power the last time in 2009, and I became deputy finance minister. I mean, I couldn't have 1 minute to leave my job in the finance ministry to attend a party meeting. I couldn't. I couldn't have a meeting to go and do communication on behalf of the party. So automatically, that job devolved on others who were still at the party level, who had to continue that. So this really should not be a difficulty after all. I mean, so I find it difficult to appreciate why anyone even thought this is a problem. Because I've been in that position, I never once thought it was a problem. Because and my colleagues who were with me at the same time, Visa Friankra, who was then Deputy General Secretary, who became Deputy Local Government Minister, never had a problem with it, never bothered. Harun Idriso, who was youth organizer, and then moved to become a communication minister at the time, never had a problem. He continued his work. So I don't understand why this current generation will have any problem at all with it. That's why I say, listen, that's why the party decided that, listen, if you still insist that you're holding a position, either as a CEO or as a minister or deputy and you want to still contest for a party office, then resign from your position 6 months before an election in order to come and concentrate fully on the party and then have your work.
I mean, but there are those who would say that I can serve the nation and still serve the party at the same time.
Even the country has come to realize that you cannot more be allowed to be a member of parliament at the same time a minister in government. Even the country has come to accept that. That's what the constitutional review has come to. So it tells you that clearly that even is not very easy to be done. So why would anybody convince anybody that you can do both? I can see, for example, what has happened over the last 1 year since we've been in government. Those who are very busy in their various departments have not had time to continue party, and we can understand why.
Is that impacting party administration?
Absolutely, they simply don't have the time. They are busy. So naturally, they don't have the time. If the party is having a meeting, they can't. I mean, they don't have the time. Others will have to do it. You know, so these are things that are simply, should I call it, things that are very straightforward. So honestly, the reaction from some up to now, it baffles me. I don't understand it. And I think that in terms of the spirit of reset, the very fact that you are even protesting, for me, it just shows that you don't understand what this whole reset is about. Because this reset is simply about transforming the country. I mean, focusing on what needs to be focused on, allowing other people to do the job. And this is a party that has got millions of supporters. This is a party that, God forbid, any of us who drop dead today, there are so many other people who will come and take our position and do an equally good job, if not a better job. So for any individuals to believe that we are indispensable, without us, the job can't get done. So therefore, we have to hold 1 and 2 positions at the same time. I use the word that amounted to greed, and some overreacted. I repeat it again, that's nothing but greed. That's what it is, greed. So please, give it up.
I see. Are there any more changes to expect as you head into your own party elections in the future?
By and large, the National Executive have sat together and we've come up with the guidelines that's supposed to be to be the framework that will guide all our elections, the internal elections, which will be mostly this year, and then will continue into next year when we expect to, the latter part of next year, when we expect to be doing the presidential primaries, for example, and the parliamentary primaries. So I would say for now, the guidelines are what they are. But as and when issues happen, for example, the issue of Ayawaso has now given an opportunity to want to look at the delegate system, because prior to that, that conversation was going to be done, but there was no, but this is a good trigger that allows us to now be. So the committee now will bring a proper recommendation, and we'll be able to now come with appropriate reforms regarding the delegate system, and that will then help us to be able to go into all the elections. Right?
Is the NDC still on a thank you tour, or is this chairman that is on a thank you tour?
Why? Ask chairman. Ask chairman about that.
I see. Because there are those from outside the party who think that your chairman is campaigning for...
When you meet the chairman, you ask him the one.
How does the party feel about his extensive thank you tour around the country?
I say when you meet him, ask him about it.
Is it in favor of...
He can speak to that.
Is it in favor of the NDC?
He will speak to that. So when you meet him, ask him that question.
Very well.
Okay.
So while we're on the subject of 1 year, and we'll come back to issues of elections, because you announced that you will contest again as General Secretary of the party. So we'll look into that a little later. But I want us to look at the relationship between the NDC and the government of the day, the executive, so to speak.
Okay.
One of the concerns that were raised in John Mahama 1 was a sort of very frosty relationship between party and then the executive office. How has that changed in John Mahama 2?
Okay. Well, let's say it this way. It's always a journey. It's not a journey that's perfect, and you don't expect it to be perfect overnight. But I would say, compared to the previous situation, we actually have done much better now than we've done in the past. And of course, as you say, you expect even more. So and that's an ongoing conversation. You must appreciate that we are coming from a past where effectively, once you win power, you really hold all the levers. You clearly make all those determinations. So from that pass into a situation where we're at the most perfect situation where the decisions are much more collective, where party and government sit together in order to make those conversations. I would say that's the ideal situation. What I would say that we haven't reached the ideal as yet, but compared to the past, we've made progress. That's what I can say.
And per your constitution, you'd have an advisory committee for the executive. Is that advisory committee meeting?
No, that advisory committee actually was supposed to be helping with what you call the period. I mean, it's much more a committee that will join the transitional period when you're about to start the series of appointments.
I see.
So I would say that committee actually was part of the beginnings of the process in terms of advising on some of the key appointments to be done.
Indeed, and I'm glad you brought that up, because then my follow-up question to that will be whether or not the party is impressed by the output or work of the appointees.
The way you look at it is simple. We made a number of promises to the country, and so you want to see how far have we gone towards that. One of the things we told the country is that we wanted to institutionalize a system that will give the people of Ghana much more confidence in government. I think by and large, if you check what you call the reaction of the people towards the first year in government, and that's not just our view, but also borne out by what's called institutions that have done a survey to check what I call the level of the rating, the approval rate of the government, and for that matter, the president. I think the approval rate has been very good. So that tells you that by and large, the country feels, even though it's not perfect, you really have done much, much better than the previous regime that you do. So that's the first one. Two, you also notice that as opposed to the 8 years of the MPP, where virtually almost on a daily basis, it was scandal upon scandal upon scandal, starting from the very first day of inauguration, when the then president literally went plagiarizing the speech of not just George Bush Jr., but other people as well placing in his speech. So that set a tone towards what you call the series of scandals that we had. Our government, by and large, have tried very hard to deal with that. The reason is simple. Every appointee knows that there is no cover-up. You make a mistake, you take the fall for it. And that's a statement the president has made every opportunity he's had when he's meeting with appointees. In cabinet, he's actually told again and again to all appointees. And the party has stood behind the president in also telling the appointees that the party clearly is not going to be covering anybody up. You do what is wrong, you will take the fall. So I think that has set a clear tone to everybody that you need to do what is right. They are not perfect, you can appreciate, but you can see clearly that the conduct has been very encouraging. In terms of the economy is always the heartbeat of everything. In terms, that's the main barometer. I think generally the economy, if you look at what it is we had into the year 2024 and what it is, the difficulties that we even met vis-a-vis what it is we've done already in the first year, you can clearly see that we've been able to not just stabilize the economy, we actually brought a lot of the key indicators down to levels that was difficult to believe at the close of 2024. We're talking about inflation today. First time, I can't remember the last time. In fact, the last time when I was in the finance ministry, we were able to bring inflation down. By the time we got that was almost, I think inflation went into single digits somewhere May of the following year. But here, inflation actually went into that single digit in that very first year. And has remained in that single digit already from that period, going down further. So that tells you that things are pretty strong. The CD's performance has been very, very strong as well. And naturally, when you have a stable currency, or even in this case, a currency that literally has appreciated vis-a-vis, the international currencies, that has what you call effect on bringing stability on the economy. Interest rate has trended downwards. Treasury bill rates, for the first time is down into treasury bill, into single digit as well. I remember we had that in the previous administration for just 1 month. When it came down somewhere in November 2010 or so, it came down into single digit. Then after that, we couldn't keep it there because the difficulties started. And so you can see that relatively things are going well. So we can only say, yes, we are increasingly happy about the performance. You can see clearly, for example, in the road sector, massive effort being done to literally, affect the totality of the road sector, every nook and cranny of our country. And as the Chinese will tell you, you want to bring a transformation to a place, what you do is to build a road. Because the moment you build a road, it changes the dynamics. The economy transforms immediately. Opportunities are created. And so that, another very great one. We see what's happening in the local government sector. For example, with what you call the market that are being built virtually in every district in the country. That's massive. Effort that's been made to ensure that these districts start to get what you call resources for their development. If you're talking about the genuine development of the country, it's not what happens in Accra or what happens in a major city, but what is happening in every district of the country. And if you are having resources being taken down to those districts, that's a lot. And remember, in the NPP, what they did was to monopolize those resources in Accra and then allow what I call all kinds of characters working in partnership with the people in government using procurement to literally amass wealth for themselves and share with themselves. We are saying that, listen, 80% of resources, instead of keeping in Accra, let it go down to every district. That is massive. It takes courage, it takes commitment, it takes love for country to be able to get that done. Yeah. So the country as a whole is seeing that commitment towards transformation, towards development. And I tell you, this is even just the beginning. We are now about to really start going to the second gear, the third gear, and take the country to the place we promised.
We'll touch a bit more on that. But while we're on the issue of appointments, is the government due for a reshuffle? Do you think?
It's always important that despite the fact that things have gone on very well in the first year, the president, who is a leader, would always want to see where things can still be done better. So reshuffle normally is done within that context, where you want to see in this particular sector, even though things are okay, I can still do better if I move somebody else into that place, or in this place, maybe this one is not too effective in this sector. Let's move into that sector where maybe you will be a little. So I think reshuffle will be a possibility, and from what I pick up in the corridors, yes,
A possibility soon?
We definitely are going to be having a reshuffle, yeah.
Sometime soon?
I wouldn't be able to say how soon, but definitely.
Very well. Very well. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll talk about a bit more on some economic and governance issues, but we'll also answer the question of who is likely to lead, or what kind of person is likely to lead the party into a general election of 2028. We'll be right back. Don't go away.
That conversation. And it was an important conversation. Any decision that had to do with an important such as cocoa is one that is important to be able to bring what you call the key decision makers in government in order for us to be able to first understand the full nature of the problem and then be able to look at what policy recommendations are being put on the table in order to make, should I call it, a decision on it. So it was a very important meeting. So if the opposition says otherwise, I can understand why they will say what is. That's why they presided over a complete devastation of the cocoa sector. That's why under their tenure, they absolutely were so unconscionable that they could should I call it, cripple that sector with massive debts. Giving road contracts worth billions when they do not even have the money to be able to pay. Giving what you call increment to workers when they do not have the money to be able to pay. Buying jute sack that could last for 20 years when they didn't have money to pay. So it tells you that they literally just run that whole important sector down to the ground. So for them to say that cabinet was not needed, of course, that's the reason why you devastated the sector and created a mess that we had to now look for solution for. Now, the reason why we needed to go into that conversation was also because we wanted to bring some, should I call it, important decisions that is not just addressing the problem now, but into the future. And one of those major decisions that we came up with, for example, was that going forward, the country, a minimum of 50% of all our production should be devoted to processing. That changes the game. Because if you look at what's happening in the cocoa sector, Ghana accounts for maximum 6% when it comes to what you call the value in processing in cocoa, in the cocoa value chain. Right. The processing, 6%. And I'm talking about an industry that is going into hundreds of billions of dollars. We account for 6%. Now, if we take a decision that takes half of what we produce into processing, it simply means that the value we are going to extract for this country, and for that matter, that which benefit will now fall not just to the farmers, but to the whole country, becomes far more. Because if you're getting just 6% on the value addition, and when you can actually take a lot more decision that will do that, that is far-reaching decision. If in 8 years, our friends had what you call the basic know-how to even do something like this, we would not have found ourselves in a situation that we found ourselves in. So that's one. We needed to also address the issue of how to take care of the farmers who are, at the moment, have about 50,000 of their production that need to be paid for when the prices have collapsed. Because the truth for the price collapsing is a reality. And this price collapse is not just affecting Ghana. I'm sure TV3, if you do your own investigation, farmers in Cote d'Ivoire are absolutely lamenting as well because they have their produce, nobody's buying because the prices collapse. So it's not just something just limited just to Ghana. It's affecting, I can tell you, if it were not the case, the farmers would not be crying. They would have sent their produce across the border to Cote d'Ivoire and be able to get good price for it. In fact, during the time of the NPP, they were actually sending their goods across through my constituency in Aflawo to Lome, where a lot of, good prices were being paid. So a lot of that was going not just to Togo, but also to Cote d'Ivoire. At the moment, they cannot do that because the prices in those places also have collapsed as well. So we need to find a solution to it. We've taken a key decision of paying the farmers for the first time in the history of our country 90% of FOB. It's never happened. NPP was barely struggling to do 70%. We've taken 90% of FOB. Unprecedented. That means Cocoa Board, for all of its oppression, and the country as a whole just have 10%, which we understand because this is an emergency. And during an emergency, you do what we can to at least cushion the farmers as much as you can, and then see how you can now find a comprehensive solution going forward.
So when the meeting resolved that and directed Cocoa Board to make the payment, is the meeting under the impression that Cocoa Board had the money to pay that 90%?
Yeah, the understanding is that with what you call, Cocoa Board already had a number of discussions and already had what you call assurances about ability to be able to offload some of this. And of course, remember, we are talking about offloading even these one to processors. That really is what the understanding is. So it's really, this processing thing is not just going to be taken from the major season. Even for these 50,000, the understanding is for the 50,000 to actually go to processors. So we already have conversations. And yesterday, before the finance minister did his press conference, he actually had a meeting with processors again. So all these clearly have been understood. So there's really no problem about paying that 90% to the farmers. But as I said, we need to deal with this not just in terms of the current difficulty, but also a lasting problem. That's why we are now looking at a situation where you allow for what you call a flexible system. And that flexible system, from the information that we've received, based on what you call analysis that has been done over, not just recent, but over a number of years, it clearly shows that the farmers start to actually benefit on a long-term basis if we allow for that system, which really is just very flexible based on what is happening on the world market.
So I hear you when you say that paying that 90%, there is no problem doing that. But then the question any farmer watching us now will ask is, when will I get my money? Because again, we did not hear any timelines to Cocoa Board as to when to do that.
No, I'm sure there shouldn't be an issue because the moment the finance minister makes that announcement, it tells you that we already have secured those engagement about who we are selling to and how the money is going to be available to be able to pay the farmers.
Farmers we have spoken to say, look, if we take this new reduced price, which you even say that there's some form of cushioning in.
This is 90%.
90%.
Really, yeah.
Right. When the prices also go up, they expect that they will get the full of it. What assurance can you give them now, if any at all?
But that's what I'm saying. With the new system we are putting in place, as I told you, the analysis that have been done show that with the new system we are putting in place, the farmers actually stand to benefit. In the past, when, for example, prices went up on international market, some of that a lot more benefits was going to farmers, but equally good benefit was going to Cocoa Board. With the current one, Cocoa Board will get less benefit than the farmers will get. So really, the farmers now are going to be in a much better position than they have been with the situation we've had in the past. So I would say this actually is something that inures more to their benefit.
You talked about, some misuse of funds under the previous administration. They also make a similar accusation against the current Cocoa Board CEO. In fact, two of the things they talk about is the fact that instead of tackling the farmer issues, he's renovated his home and bought his home.
His home?
Yes, the house where he lives. Suggesting this was Cocoa Board money that was used to do that. And, Cocoa Board has also bought vehicles for the directors, money they say we could have added to whatever we are supposed to pay to the farmers. Did the cabinet meeting consider this at all? Perhaps just tell us, what's your reaction to that?
No, what we agreed also was that the finance minister will, should I call it, allow for a deep forensic dive into the very operations of Cocoa Board in order to see which areas clearly cuts have to happen. You understand? So naturally with that allows room to be able to say no on this one. These are some of the things you've done for maybe a particular category, maybe in terms of your promotions. We need to look at it again. In terms of maybe perks that you are enjoying, those need to be looked at again. In terms of monies maybe you have spent on your, shall I call it, on your capital goods and stuff like that. So those conversations are going to, the cabinet actually did say that we should not simply just allow our farmers to be able to literally take some hits. Cocoa Board must take a good hit as well. But you must appreciate, Cocoa Board had a handicap. And a handicap Cocoa Board has had is this. Now, normally when your currency is depreciating, it's very good for export. So you don't even need to do a lot more money is coming. Because if I'm selling in the past, and at the time, let's say the CD was, let's say 10, and I'm getting this amount of money coming to me, when the CD depreciates to 15, that's a lot more money coming in terms of dollars. That you change to CD, then a lot more money. So even without doing much, a lot more is coming. But when you have a situation, your currency is strong, like what we've had, that means Cocoa Board own margins have become smaller. Yeah. The revenues and so on have gone smaller. So we need to appreciate also that much as it's being made to appear as if Cocoa Board is maybe swimming in cash, the truth, if you go into their numbers, well, Cocoa Board really are in difficulty. Because as I told you, we're talking about, that's one of the reasons why Cabinet had to take a decision, for example, that going forward, no road construction should be done by Cocoa Board anymore. Because what MPP simply did was to absolutely go in an unconscionable path of giving a road contract worth billions. And of course, those road contracts, what were they doing for procurement? So they can take advantage, take care of their cronies, make money out of the system. That's really what it is.
Will it be part of the audits you do?
Absolutely, massively. And of course, Cabinet also made a point that all the people who have committed crime in that sector, we need to do everything possible to ensure that every single one of them is prosecuted. Because some of them, I listened to some of them today, and they have the audacity to speak. I said, look at you. Look at you. You've committed this crime against this country, landed this important sector into this ditch, and you still have the boldness and audacity to open your mouth to speak? Shut up. You have no moral authority to be speaking. No moral authority to speak.
Is the NDC capable of delivering a 24-hour economy over the next 3 years in this country?
But you can see that the process has been on. Guzitano, who is in charge of that, who is a member of Cabinet, has presented what you call the steps that need to be taken. And at the moment, as you know, the bill is in Parliament. It's come through Cabinet. It's now in Parliament. Parliament will look at it. Then after that, the implementation can begin. Other things that need to be put in place regarding especially tax exemptions, that's very important because all the people who need to come along need to have guarantees, especially about taxes. So it's not something that you can simply just do overnight. You need to make sure the foundations are in place in order to be able to bring all the people who need to come on board and do it properly. We made guarantees regarding what you call power arrangement. The tariff system that will give people an incentive to want to run, a lot more longer than they normally would do. So all those conversations are being done, and I believe that we would be able to run it as soon as we go through Parliament. We should be able to start. And some institutions have started already. Those institutions that don't, for example, need a tax incentive, some of them have started, which is a good thing. So I'm sure we're going to have a lot more.
Which is why some have said that we do not need an authority.
No, don't forget. DVLA doesn't need a tax incentive. To be able to run 24 hours. Ghana Publishing doesn't need a tax incentive. But if, for example, I'm a manufacturing concern and you want me to run for 24 hours, you need to give me certain guarantees. Those are private sector people. And this thing is an economic thing. It's not a political thing. It's a different thing if it's simply politics where, for example, you are saying, All ministries, you have to do 24 hours. All public organizations, 24 hours. That's the easy part. But this is an economic thing. Economic because you are looking at ways in which you are producing more, and therefore you are employing more, and therefore you are paying more taxes. So that needs economic assurances. So it's not something you can simply do by ordering institutions to simply run 24 hours.
Transparency International reports that the Corruption Perception Index has plateaued, stayed at 43, despite under an NDC government that campaigned on anti-corruption. Why do you think that's the case?
What you mean is plateaued? What you mean is what?
Well, at the last perception index, the NDC wasn't in office, it was at 42. Under the administration that campaigned on anti-corruption is only 43. So the conclusion of the anti-corruption campaigner is that nothing has changed.
At least one thing that clearly has changed is that the massive scandals that we've seen in the past have effectively vanished, and the people of Ghana can testify to that. So that clearly has changed.
So you don't agree with them?
Don't forget that when it comes to perception, it's not simply about conduct of government. Mm-hmm. We're talking about so many institutions, and they are not necessarily what you call members of government or appointees. So you first set the example at the level of leadership, then hope that that conduct will translate into every other institution. So for example, institutions that have to do with, let's say, the police as an institution, and different other institutions will take a cue. I mean, don't forget, if you have 8 years of the decadence and the degeneration that we have seen, it's not possible overnight to see a transformation in every institution in the country. As I'm telling you, even as a party, we are not trying to resolve issues about voter inducement, which has continued for quite a bit. So it tells you that it takes a while for some of these very strong leadership, if I call it, initiatives that we want to put in place to gain ground. So I can appreciate that it may take a while for it to start manifesting. But the important thing is to look at the conduct of the president, look at the conduct of his appointees in government, and see, at least at the level, a clear improvement has been seen, and then gradually see how that leadership, the new type of leadership, is going to translate into different institutions in the country. Mostly this has to do with perceptions of corruption. People who are asking for bribes, if you go into, let's say, ministries, you want to get your job, they're asking for, those are the things that they pick up. And as I told you, this is a societal problem. And anybody who pretends that this is simply something that you can use, what you call a whip and change overnight, it doesn't happen, because these are things that Ghanaians have done for decades. You are not going to see just immediate transformation of it. But once leadership shows again and again that we want to have a new approach, it gradually turns to change.
Let's talk about your announcement to run again as General Secretary. Perhaps the question delegates will want to ask is, why? What have you done for the party so far?
Okay. And that's fair, that's legitimate. What I would say is that we started a process, and that process led to should I call a comprehensive victory that we had in the year 2024, which I would say is the biggest victory that any political party can have. I think it's victory that Kwame Nkrumah would love to have. Victory that Jerry Rawlings, who was the founder of our party and one of the most charismatic leaders ever, would love to have. Because if Jerry Rawlings didn't get to third majority in parliament, Kwame Nkrumah didn't have that. No political party has been able to have that. Now, so if you're General Secretary, as a Chief Executive of a party under your watch, you score these absolutely unprecedented victory, it makes sense for you to want to ensure that we continue the process. But for me, it's the reason why I need to continue is not just simply in terms of the victory that has been achieved. Because this reset agenda, as far as I'm concerned, it's not just a reset for country, it must be reset first and foremost for the party. So, for example, we just spoke about the need for us to bring comprehensive reforms to take away what you call this voter inducement thing. You need a strong character, a character that believes in discipline, a character that simply puts party first, a character that doesn't believe in what you call, this is my friend, this is my enemy. No, just do what you right. And in the party, people know me for that. I fight for my party. I don't look at anybody. You can be, and I believe that the party must be supreme, the party must be sovereign, the party must be sustainable, and that is what makes the party strong. And that is the fight I'm having to ensure that where we're going, we have a situation where we can have a party that will be able to tell the government that this is what the party wants. The government will have to listen. We have not reached there yet, but I want us to reach that place. That's why I talk about when you ask about the relationship between government and party. I told you there's an ideal situation we have not reached, but it's better than it was in the past. We need strong leaders to ensure that whoever the next generation of leaders are going to be, we reach that place which is an ideal position, where everybody in the party, from president all the way to the guy at the branch, all of them understand that you ride on the back of this party. It is this party that made you where you are, and therefore decisions have to be taken by the party and for the party in order to bring an enhancement to the country. And to do that, you need a chief executive that have the capacity and the courage to get that done. And I believe I'm best placed to be able to help the party do that. And beyond that, my love for this party absolutely is, I say all the time, is an honor of my life to be able to serve this party. People ask me that, will you swap this position for a position in government as a minister? I say never. You can offer me any position in government at the moment, no. Because I believe this reset for the party is critical. Because this party is about millions of people. And if you can bring a change to how the conduct happens among those millions of people, that's a massive thing we are doing for the country.
I see. We wish you the very best on that.
Thank you very much.
But when we are talking about characteristics, the NDC will go into the 2028 elections with a completely new candidate. We're already starting to hear some names. But I want to learn from you, what kind of a person do you think the NDC needs for 2028?
Okay. Let me rather tell you exactly what we need. What we need is to have a party that absolutely delivers on our promises. No matter how great you are as an individual, if you run as an independent candidate, you and Alan Shemate will be struggling to get, should I call it 1%. Yeah. So issues not about the individual, issue about the vehicle. The vehicle must be strong, must be credible. The vehicle must be seen to care about the people, must be concerned about the well-being of Ghana. And once the vehicle is strong, whoever you place on the vehicle, you are going. I can tell you that if Alan Shemate were on the vehicle of NDC, his chances would have been absolutely great. But if he runs an independent, his vehicle is, you understand? So whatever names you are picking up, if they believe that they are strong as individuals, let them stand as independent in 2020 and see whether they can even get 0.1%. None of them will. If they run on this vehicle, once the vehicle is strong, credible, their chances are. So let's focus more on the party.
Right. So, so whatever the machinery is for 2028, whoever the candidate is, you'll be coming against your top contender, the NPP, whose presidential candidate now is Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia. How well do you think your machinery, with the machinery they are building now also, will fare in that contest?
Let's say there was a time NPP will always remain a strong party. Let's not play about it, because they will still be able to have a core base of people who, through thick and thin, will continue to be with them. So it's not a political party we are going to take for granted at all. But we believe that what matters is us being connected to the people of Ghana. And to the extent that we continue working hard and justifying our, making the people of Ghana feel that we are doing a good job, Bawumia will be no match to any individual. And I should think that some of the surveys already have established that as at the close of 2024, matchup between Bawumia and any of the names that are floating in the NDC, Bawumia was losing to every single one of them. That should tell you that the real difference always is the party. Once the party is strong and delivering, whatever the NPP does. Listen, in elections, the opposition party doesn't really win elections. The government loses elections. That's really what happens. So when government is doing a good job, opposition, your task is tough. When the government is delivering, your chances are very, very weak. That's why NDC has to focus on making sure we deliver. So my message to any individual who's having aspiration is back off and make sure we support this party and this government to deliver. Let that be the focus. between now all the way until the party says it is time now to start looking at who the next leader will, then we can start that conversation. So any individuals who are absolutely going about trying to do any other way, it's just for me complete indiscipline. Focus on the party, that should be the focus now. Focus on the government. Let's make sure this party remains credible. It shows that we are concerned and we are delivering to the people of Ghana. And the job will be easy when the moment comes.
Thank you for talking to us.
Always a pleasure. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Absolutely. Fifi Kwete is General Secretary of the NDC. This is Hot Issues. I'm Kemeni Amano. I'll see you same time next week. Bye-bye.